What's the name of your first grade teacher? No, oh, geez, everyone's like answering. It's a rhetorical question. It's a TED Talk. Who was the person you went to your prom with? Shh. Or whatever the prom is called where you come from. Or who did you want to go with and didn't? What was the type of car you first had? What was your first car? What was the first car you learned to drive on? I'm willing to bet that everybody in this room very specifically knows the answer to every single one of those questions. Why? Because it turns out, oddly enough, that from birth through adolescence, which by the way can go as late as age 25, our brain is developing. Newsflash, the brain is developing, and it's in our best interest, it's in human beings' best interest to be able to learn things very quickly and remember everything that is said to us or done to us, for better or for worse. We remember all that stuff, and it gets locked in there. Now, I'm a novelist, I'm a speaker, I'm a teacher, and so my livelihood has been based on words. Words are very serious business where I come from. Their meanings, their shades, their variations, their how they're constructed, what they mean, their definitions, all of these things are very important to me, and I want them to be very important to you. We need, all of us need to be very deliberate with the words we choose, particularly with our kids and our young adults, because they get locked in there, and there they stay. I was a drama kid, if you couldn't tell. I was a drama kid in high school, and I was in every single show. I was the president of Mask and Gavel, which is the drama and speech club, and I was a speech team letterman. I mean, it's no big deal. I'm totally over it. I'm just saying, that's what I did. But I was in every show, and I loved it. And we had two great teachers, Mrs. Tully and Mrs. Goldson, or Goldie and Tully. And they were phenomenal teachers. They were English teachers, they were speech teachers, they were drama teachers, and they directed the school plays. And if you did a good job, if you kind of did, a good performance or whatever, Mrs. Tully would say something like, "Oh, that was wonderful. That was splendid. You were just all wonderful." Okay, that feels good. That's nice. But if you really did a good job, if you really knocked it out of the park, if you really gave a great performance, she'd say, a little smirk on her face, she'd say, "You done good, kid." And that's it. Terrible grammar, by the way, for an English teacher, right? But the words mattered so much. The words had weight, and words can change reality, it turns out. So my junior year, finally, after all these shows, junior year, I'm the lead in the show. I'm the lead, I'm the star, thank you. And there's only 5 people in the entire show. I'm on stage for like 75, 80% of the show. The first line of the show is me walking out and saying, "This is a play about me, so it's my show." You with me? My show, okay. And I'm so excited for doing my show because opening night, my family's come to see the show. Oh, yes. It's my mom and my dad and some grandmas or something. I don't know. But they're all there to see me star in this show. And that night, dude, opening night, we rocked. We could feel it. There's a thing that you do that you're really good at, and that when you do it really well, you feel it right here. We had one of those nights. We knew we nailed it. And the thing is, we have a tradition at the school, after a show, there's this big, long drama department hallway in the back of the auditorium, and the friends and family come back there to say hello, and sometimes they bring flowers, and they give you hugs and kisses and say, "Oh, what a great job you did," and all this, and it's great. So after this wonderful show, I beeline backstage looking for my family because I know they're there. And I see my dad way at the other end of the hall. And even from the distance, he is smiling. And so I start running over there, full costume, full makeup. I'm running over there, just knocking people out of the way like MMA. Boom! Just I got to get to my dad. And I finally get up to him. He's got this big smile. And he says to me, Wow, that tall girl was amazing." Thank you. And I said, "Yeah." And he wouldn't stop. He kept going, "What is her?" He's in the playbill. "What is her name? I need to meet her. She's fantastic." I'm like, Hillary. "Yeah, she's probably in the dressing room. I want me to go get her. I could." So we're done. Okay, and that was it. That's all he said. That tall girl was amazing. So I went back into the dressing room to find Hillary because, she was amazing. And on my way into the dressing room, I see Mrs. Tully, and she sees me. She was the director of the show that year. And she sees me, and she comes up, puts an arm on my shoulder, and she says, "Oh my gosh, Tom, you done good, kid." 4 words, grammatically incorrect, but they changed everything, didn't they? Because words matter. Words matter to all of us, especially when we're younger, because we remember that stuff. We remember our first grade teacher. We remember who we went to prom with. We remember our first car. That stuff gets locked in there, and we have to be careful with it, and we have to be deliberate about it. Because most of what I write as a novelist is called young adult literature, it's for teenagers, adolescents, that kind of thing, I end up doing a lot of school visits and library visits and work with teenagers and adolescents, and it's great. I love doing it. And the first one I ever went to, and this happens every school visit I go to, by the way, every single time, ladies and gentlemen, this happens to me. Do my book talk, and then 5 or 6 kids will rush me after the bell rings and just start telling me everything about their lives. They'll just go, and I'm, "Oh, okay, great." And the very first one I went to, I believe it was, a girl came up to me and she said, "I always wanted to be a writer, but I suck." I was like, "Okay, wait a minute. You don't come up to a published author and say you're a sucky writer. You can't do that." And she goes, "Well, no, but I am." I said, "Stop. No, you can't say that. Why do you think you suck?" And she said, "Well, because my mom told me." And I was like, because I'm young and stupid at this point, I say, "No, she didn't." Because a parent would never say anything like that to their kid, right? And this girl looks at me like I'm the most insane person on the face of the earth. And she goes, "No, I wrote the story," and I gave it to her, and she read it, and she handed it back and said, "Wow, you really suck." Like this was the most normal thing in the whole world for her. And ever since that day, and I encounter stories like that time and time and time again at our schools, and it just makes me wonder how many great novels, how many great films or works of art, how many great feats of engineering or architecture has the world lost because of something a grown-up said to a kid whose brain was still developing and still remembering everything that's said to them. I have a 4-year-old. He's awesome, and I love him more than sunlight. And it's true, I really do. I remember when he was born, when they cleaned him all up whenever, and he was on the little weighing table thing, and he's so tiny, he wasn't yelling or screaming or crying, but he has these enormous big blue eyes. They're huge. And I went over to him, and I just touched his forehead with my index finger, and it was the softest thing I'd ever touched in my life. And at that moment, for the first time in my life, I was not afraid to die, because I knew, God forbid I should ever have to, but if necessary, I would die for this kid in an instant, no questions asked. It was amazing. That's not to say he's perfect. He's a 4-year-old boy, and 4-year-old boys behave sometimes like 4-year-old boys. That's what 4-year-old boys do, and that's okay. But I'll tell you something that he's not. He's not a bad boy. He has never, in my house, or the houses of our family, or at school, been called a bad boy. Why? Because if you tell him once or twice or 3 times or 4 times or any more, it might just get stuck in there, like your first grade teacher, or who you went to prom with, or the car that you first drove. It might get locked in there, and it might become an identity. Happens all the time. If any of you were called a bad boy or a bad girl, news for you, you're not. You're not. And we don't want that for him. He makes bad choices, don't get me wrong. He also makes good choices, and we talk about those choices, and that worked, and we're learning all about choices. But he will never, ever, ever be called a bad boy. We do not call our children bad boys or bad girls, or idiots, or stupid, or ugly, or suck, or any of those things, because it gets stuck in there. It gets stuck in there, and it's really hard to get out. We have to be very, very deliberate with our words and how we define words. How we talk to kids, how we talk to each other, how we talk to ourselves. It all matters because those words matter a lot. When I was 19, some friends and I were at a friend's apartment building, and on the way out to our cars, it was late, it was a Saturday night, and as we were going to the cars, these guys showed up and apparently wanted to get in a fight. They were just out looking for a fight, and they found us. Thanks, great. So I did some really cool Jack Bauer moves on them and took... No, I didn't. I'm sorry, that's not what happened. No. They beat the crap out of us. That's what happened. Sorry. I mean, we didn't even defend ourselves. Like this was my entire defense. It was like, like that's it. That's all I had. And afterwards, two of my friends ended up actually going to the emergency room. They're okay. I'm okay. Everything was fine. And it was kind of like, all right, I'm 19. Like, okay, it happened. I got through it. I survived. I'm all right. I'm a tough guy. All right, that's cool. All right, we got this. No problem. And everything was fine. The next weekend, we went back to that apartment, and everything was totally okay. No big deal. It happens. All right. A couple months later, I'm in another parking lot. It's after work. I'm the last person there, locking up, and my car, of course, is way on the other side of this parking lot. And I'm walking to my car, and then suddenly from the street comes this car, just peeling in, like Starsky and Hutch, for those of you who remember Starsky and Hutch, just peeling, and they drive straight towards me. They start doing donuts around me. The wheels just cranked all the way over, and one of the guys leans out the back window, and he screams, "We're going to kick your ass!" So take notes. If you ever find yourself in this position, I'm going to give you some valuable self-defense notes right now. Here's what you do. I looked up at the sky, and I kept walking to my car and pretended to do math in my head. And I just kept walking. And it worked because they drove away. I don't know why. Maybe because I looked like an insane person. I don't know. But nothing happened. Nothing happened. I got in my car, and I drove home, and I was perfectly fine, physically. I got to my house and opened my door, went inside, closed the door to my room, and fell to the ground. Unable to move, shaking, clammy hands, cold sweats, chills, heart thudding, thought I was going to throw up, thought I was going to pass out, thought I was going to die. Any particular order, doesn't matter. And if you've never had a panic attack, a full-blown, hardcore panic attack, good. You don't want one. That's what they feel like. And from that moment on, for the next several years, I did not leave my house at night. I was a reverse vampire. As soon as the sun was down, I was inside, doors locked, done. Even during the day, there was like 3 or 4 safe places I could go. Safe places. Because otherwise, you might get hurt. There's bad people out there. And I was so afraid of everything. Absolutely everything. My friends threw a big birthday party for me somewhere else. And 3 different occasions, teams of people came to my house to come get me and take me to this birthday party. And I pretended to be asleep so that I wouldn't have to go outside at night. Because bad things happen outside at night. For years. So afraid. But one of the things that helped in the process of healing, of getting over that, hasn't happened for like more than 10 years, maybe more than 10 years now. Anyway, so I'm feeling better. But one of the things that led to feeling better was examining and defining the words I was using. Because I told myself how afraid I was. And afraid is a pretty big word. But if I ask you, hey, do you like to be scared? Some of you will raise your hand, because being scared is a big business in this country. Haunted house attractions annually bring in $400 to $500 million in ticket sales alone. Stephen King, horror writer, maybe you've heard of him, in 2010, just 2010, made $34 million. The number 1 horror movie of all time right now, as of today, is World War Z, Brad Pitt, $540 million. We like to be scared. Scared is fun. Scared can be really cool and exciting. Scared can also save your life. Scared can be that adrenaline dump that gives you the fight or flight, or you know what to do, and it prepares your body, and that's okay. Scared is okay. I'm scared to stand here on this big red dot and be talking to you guys. It's scary. Try it. I'm scared to fly. That's okay. I'm going to tell you right now, every single one of you has permission to be scared. Scared is okay. We can deal with scared. Afraid is a way of life. Afraid is a filter and a lens through which you make every single decision day in and day out. Should I call that girl? Should we get married? Should we have a kid? Should I quit my job? Should I try to find a new job? Should I quit this job and go pursue the thing that I really, really want to do? Or am I too afraid or scared? Because I'm scared of flying. I get on the plane. I'm scared of standing on this big red dot talking to you guys at TEDx. But I come in the door and I do it because I'm scared. Scared, okay. Afraid, not so much. We have to be very deliberate about our words. We have to define those words. We have to know what those words mean to one another. So that when I'm talking to you, or I'm talking to my 4-year-old, or I'm talking to myself, I'm very specific and deliberate about word choice and how those words are going to impact me or the people that I'm speaking to. Very deliberate. Why? Because they get locked in there and they change people's realities. They get locked in there. Mrs. Schmidt, Rachel Noble, 1984 charcoal gray Toyota pickup. Last question. What do you want to say? Thanks.